Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode number 33 here in the Happy Space Prison. Today, we're going to be focusing on finishing up some things in our rocket bay so that we can start making some hydrogen and some liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen, and getting our recovery system to recover some of the heat from our rocket launches working for us to generate some more power. We have collected a bunch of super coolant, and so we have the things we need to do it. So that's what we're going to get done today. In the time between episodes, I did do a bunch of rocket missions so that we could get some more super coolant, get some more materials in, and I've also been working out the best way to handle the robo miners. Right now, I'm still having trouble with keeping them cool. And I think that's because I don't have super coolant running through them yet. And B, that it's just tasking the system a lot. There's trying to cool down a lot with just one aqua tuner. So that system comes all the way over here, and I have this going. And so we're doing okay keeping up with the cooling. I did change this up so I have a dedicated aqua tuner for the steam turbine, which keeps this system running, even if it gets really hot. But we're over 200 degrees in our coolant here with the petroleum. And that's because it's going through and it's cooling down all of this system, which is being used a lot, collecting items that fall down from our space shield here. And it's also coming down here and trying to cool down this area. And these get very hot because of the rocket heat from the rocket exhaust. So we're going to be putting in a new system here for cooling. It's going to do a couple of things. It's going to cool down the system here. It's going to also take the window tile heat here that we generate from our rocket launches, and it's going to run that into some steam to recover some of that heat and cool this back down. And it's also going to have the coolant that we need to run our liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen system. I was thinking about connecting it all up just to this one, but I'm going to leave this one just do its thing. This one has very little steam in it at times because I keep it low pressure so that this cool steam vent can work. So we're going to do one up here that we can put in a lot of water, have a lot of steam going on, and pull in as much heat as we possibly can, because these can get up pretty hot when we're launching rockets regularly, which is the goal. We are going to stick with trying to do just 4 rockets, simply because I don't have a lot left to do in space on this playthrough. If I was going to be doing a long-term playthrough in the base game, I would set up more, and originally that's what I was planning, but I don't really need that. I only have a few things left to do in space. I do want to set up some automated stuff, but not a lot. So we're going to just do this. Oh, I need to set these to disable auto repair on these ladders that I just put in. Some of these are new because I was testing things out with different things to make it so that this was different. I tried having the robo miners up higher so that they didn't overheat. That didn't really help much. And then also I was having meteors coming through. I found that if I put them down like this and use coolant on them, I can cool them down a little bit faster. And it's very rare that a meteor will come in here and block inside. I still have extra coverage to mine them out when that happens. It does cause an issue with if a meteor gets rid of this coolant, so I might switch this back over to conduit cooling when we do it, or conduction panels, I should say. A lot of things to try to figure out with that, but we have our rockets. They can keep going. We get fullerene, and we can make some super coolant. Another thing I wanted to show you is that we've just done the November quality of life update, and so there's some cool things going on with that. There is, now in these aqua tuners, you can see the fluid going through them. I also want to switch this out to super coolant at some point so that we can, right now I sometimes need multiple aqua tuners to keep things cool. Like this one, all 4 of these are running just to keep the temperatures in here where I want it. If I switch that to super coolant, I can get away with just 1. So I'm going to do that at some point. But we have super coolant a pretty decent amount right now, but not enough that I want to switch over systems that are already working as is. But it will help me with power efficiency, so that'll be good. I also installed a pump in here that's getting rid of this sour gas. I'm actually not sure why I'm getting sour gas in here. I don't know if it's because of heat or something. When they produce petroleum, it flashes straight to sour gas. I'd have to look into it more. But you can see one thing I really like in the new update is when things are generated, they have a little icon for them. They changed it up a little bit. It's one of those little things that isn't that big of a deal, but it's kind of nice. So I'm cleaning things up here. I did some cleanup along here just to get this system back to nice and flat across the bottom, since we had shifted everything down. And I moved our entrance into the vacuum room here down. That way this is all level and the gases can all settle, which means this new pump I put in here can get all the gases out of this area. Just continue pumping it back out and sorting it. Right now it's all blocked because the sour gas is coming out of here, because it's been building up for quite some time. So much to the point now that we have sour gas covering up our slicksters here, and they're not able to eat any of the carbon dioxide. So I have a feeling once we get rid of that sour gas, we're going to go through this carbon dioxide so quickly that they're probably going to start starving off, but that's okay. I don't care about it. They're just here for a way to get rid of the carbon dioxide. I don't really need the resources I'm getting from them, but it's nice to have. The other thing is we're not running this system 100%. I can turn this back off. I was doing that to clear out the system when I moved the petroleum. So we're not getting carbon dioxide as fast as we were. But anyway, a lot of little things we changed. Let's get back to what we're doing today. And we're going to start by building up a system here for some steam turbines. And I got to think about how I want to connect up these window tiles to it and all of that. So I'm going to lay out some things and get it planned out, and then we'll start building. I've gotten some things built up here to harness the heat from these window tiles. I also finished them out so that I have them underneath the second section of rockets that we're going to put in. The space I decided to use up was down here. I left a gap so that there's a vacuum gap between the window tiles and everything else, and it still leaves enough space that our duplicates can walk through here to get around to where they need to go. I vacuum sealed or liquid sealed this here. I don't need to worry about double sealing it because it's a vacuum out here, so there is no temperature change from this. And then if I wanted to, I could put an insulated door in here now that we have them. I'm gonna have to play around with that with them to come up with some new liquid lock designs, because I've always done the double liquid locks like this, and we might be able to come up with some better ways to do it. I've always chosen to do them like this one because you can do them with just a single bead of liquid, but this one doesn't fail. Unless you lower the temperature below the freezing point of this liquid or go above its evaporation point, this won't fail, ever. So that's why I like them. They take up more space, they waste some extra fluids, but it's easy to not deal with the problem. So basically all this does is all this temperature from the bunker tiles underneath here and this cone of space underneath where the rocket goes, where it picks up all the heat, is all connected through these diamond window tiles. Comes down here, there's a steel door that transfers heat through this temp shift plate into these doors and into the liquid. Right now I have it connected so that it's trying to get this temperature in here up. I probably will move this up into the steam when we're done, but it'll basically transfer heat into the steam to keep the steam above 200 degrees. We'll see how well this works. It's definitely going to transfer heat. I don't know if it's going to be the most efficient. We may come up with some other ways to do it. But basically, the heat can leach its way down in here. It'll keep the temperature at 200 degrees so that the steam turbines can use it. So the next thing we need to do is put in some steam turbines so that we can use them. So we're going to put 5 across. I always choose to do 5 when I have stuff set up like this, because that's how many you can run with just one liquid line, because this will, each of these give out 20% of what the line can hold. So when all 5 are running fully, this line will be completely full and it would block any other steam turbine. So if you want to do more than 5, you need to have a second line to vent out the liquid. So if I have these running full bore because there's enough steam in here and enough heat, then that line will be full and it'll go down. So we're going to do the pipe for that. So this will come down here. We'll put in our liquid vent. And then I'm just going to take a pipe and go all the way across. Oops, that is not what I wanted. Sometimes it does that when I'm trying to move stuff. I'm sure you guys have run into that too. But we're going to go all the way across, and then what we're going to do is basically we're going to cut them off before each one, like this, and then we'll put in a liquid bridge beforehand. And the reason we do this is because if we were running them straight across, when it gets to the spot there where it is ahead of them, it would be crossing that line, and because there's already water there, it won't allow any more to go out. It'll just say the pipe is blocked. So if we go like this, and we come down, let me think how I want to do this. So this one goes to here, it feeds in here, and because it's using a bridge to go on, even if there's a blob there, it will just increase the value of it, because it'll add to it. This will do the same, this will do the same, and then this will do the same. But what we need to do is have this go this way that works. So actually, let's bring this down like this, just to make it nice and symmetric. Cancel this, and we'll put our liquid vent down, which is good, because then we can have our coolant line cover all of the steam turbine. I have a gas canister drainer here to bring out hydrogen gas, so that we can release hydrogen into this room. I'm doing it with a drainer this time, with a pipe to a gas vent, because down here I did it with a canister emptier, and actually, I want to stop this for a second. Before we put any gas in there, there's a couple more things I still need to do. But with the canister emptier, I didn't realize this can overpressurize. So I'm at like 200 kilograms of hydrogen here. People have been bringing up hydrogen, and I never noticed, for probably 100 cycles. It's fine though. I'm going to take this out, and then when I get to doing the hydrogen, I'll pull the hydrogen out of here first and use it up before we run the new line for hydrogen, just to get this back down to where we want it to be. There's no reason to have this overpressurized like we do. And it'll kind of be nice because this hydrogen has been cooled down, because we've been cooling this down to 5 degrees. So we have some pre-chilled hydrogen sitting in there, which is pretty cool. So we're going to get all this built up. There's a couple other things I still need to get in here. I need to get power in here to run off of the steam turbines, and I need power for the aqua tuners that I'm going to be putting in here. So we got to figure out where exactly we're going to put the power lines. I don't know. I'll figure that out, and then we'll get that all put in. And then the next thing we're going to do after that is work on a couple of lines. We're going to have a few aqua tuners in here. There's going to be one that is running the coolant up here, so that line will come down through here and up. We need one that cools down the steam turbines, and then we'll need one to run over to cool down the liquid hydrogen setup, and one for the liquid oxygen setup. And then that will be the next thing we work on. Making some progress on our coolant system here. So the idea is to recapture this heat when it comes out. And I can't move it in super fast, but this area is 700 degrees. It's coming down, and then all these window tiles are getting hotter, and it's coming through into the steam, which is heating up. And then the steam is getting pulled in and getting converted back to water and dropped off. I have a couple spots here that I'm missing in the drywall, because to fill this up, I've been dropping in ice temp shift plates. So just to get the level of steam in here that I want. Pretty close to what I'm looking for. I changed this up here, the section where we transfer heat in. The window tile goes into a door, goes through the windows tiles now. If this goes above 200 degrees, this door opens, so the connection lost for the heat transfer, and then this can cool down and go down here. Basically, we are pulling out as much heat as we can to get this up to 200 degrees. It's slowly pulling all the heat out of all these window tiles. So they were 700, you can see they're dropping. That's the goal. And that does the same over here. These haven't been heated up, but they're dropping from where they are. I have super coolant in the lines now. I'm just finishing up all the connections so that I can start running it through. And I pulled off this line so the petroleum all went back over here. So I can actually pull out these lines now. I don't need them anymore. Deconstruct this all the way over, and this will be a separate system. Also putting in enough coolant in this tank so that we can start cooling down the steam turbines, so when they start heating up, they'll go down. And I have enough space in here to put a couple more of the system coolant systems in to run over for our liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. Just want to get this up and running first to get it to the point where it's cooling these down and hopefully keeping up with the robo miners so that we can keep cool and they stop breaking. That is our goal. So last pipe section right here, get some more coolant dropped off in, get everything running, and we'll let it run for a while we do a few more trips to restock our super coolant, because we're using it up pretty quick and we don't have a ton of it. So we do have 2 full tanks almost, well, 3/4 of the way full tanks. So we're going to keep making super coolant, get some more. I would like to change out some other systems, like I said, but I'm prioritizing getting this system up and running, because if I can get the liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen running, we can get a hydrogen rocket going, which means we can go to the Gilded Asteroid. We get 42% fullerene every time we go, which means we can get, it's going to take longer to get out there, but when we come back, we'll get tons of fullerene. We can make lots and lots of super coolant, as well as some other stuff. So that is our goal. We're going to keep working on just getting this system up and running, and then I will start working on building our liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen system. Decided to change things up just a little bit. I have things working in here. I'm filling these tanks up with super coolant. I'm actually going to take this one off now. I have 2,500 in here. I'm trying to get about the same in this one, and then that'll give me enough so that I can stretch it out to do our coolant later. I'm going to connect this line back up. Basically, we're just going to let this coolant all flow through here and get it pre-chilled down for later. We're going to go all the way to the maximum chilling point. So we can get rid of this, and then this will just keep going through, get it cooled down to absolute 0. We'll do the same over here once we get enough super coolant in this tank, and we'll let them run for a while so that we can get it. Everything up here is working pretty good. We still are having a lot of heat. I'm waiting until we get these cooled down like the whole way to see if it's going to be enough that we can handle that heat. What happened down here? Oh, I have lead wires in there, and it's too hot to have lead wires in there. Let's increase this up here. The steel, we'll go the whole way up to the top. That way we don't have to worry about it. Okay. And then so back to what we were doing. We're going to let this go for a while and get this all filled up and ready to go for later. And I'm going to do the liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen when in the next episode. That way I have time to kind of plan it out in my head. I've done liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen before, but I've just followed build guide. I want to kind of just see what I can throw together myself. That's the point I've reached. So we'll let that go. In the meantime, what we're going to do is work on some work up here. I decided because we're only going to have those 2 big rocket bays for 4 rockets, we will not be using this space for rockets. So there's nothing to stop me from extending this area over, getting some more solar panels. There's 2, 4, 6, 8, and then 10 more that we can fit in here, which is another 3.8 kilowatts of power at peak. That means it'll just be extra power that we can use. To get to that, I need to get all this system installed with cooling for our shield up here. I need to extend this one more now that we're down here. Oop, I did it too big. And then we'll put this on, and we'll do this. Yep, that's right. And then we'll do this. And then we'll get our cooling running and get our power to it. And then once these are in place and working, I can remove the bunker tile at the top and replace it with bunker doors and connect it to the automation and all of those kinds of things. That way we'll have this whole system working just like this one, handling all the debris that falls down. And that means we'll be able to open it up and have all these solar panels running. So these we're getting placed in. We'll come in from the side, get it all done. I got to remove these ladders then and extend this across. So let's build that a while. We're going to go just like this. We definitely need to work on figuring out our mod choices and stuff to optimize things if we're going to do the long playthrough I want to do next, because right now I'm at like 3,400 cycles. and everything's running pretty fine, but the autosaves are taking a long time. So we'll have to see. I do have a lot of mods I want to change up before the next playthrough anyway, which will be a little while anyway. So we're going to get this built across. I'll probably extend the space scanners too, just to, more space scanners aren't going to hurt, but for now we'll just leave that. We're going to get this all put in, and it's a matter of getting all the plumbing put in, and then I got to determine if I'm going to use supercoolant up here, which I think I will, because even though it's a long loop, it's worth it. Supercoolant is such a better coolant than petroleum. So I'm going to have to swap that out, get petroleum put in, and get this all working so that we can extend this across and make our power system just a little more robust. It's going to be like, I think we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. It's going to be almost, or a little more than a 50% increase in our power from our solar, which will be really helpful, keeping our power going. So we'll get this all wired up, and then we will work on the next step. I have finished putting in the new section for our space shield. So it goes all the way over. It's taken a little while to pick up all this stuff, but that's because a lot had built up above this section before. I think this should be able to keep up with it every time meteors come in, and we won't have any building up. But even if it does, it'll just sit there until it catches up. Or even if it doesn't, it'll just be there for us to use. I thought about switching out the coolant in the top loop for supercoolant, but honestly, this section is not a lot of heat to go with, and so I think the petroleum coolant will be fine since I don't have a ton of supercoolant anyway. There's still a loop that comes down here to cool down this machine, and we're going to leave it like that. It also cools down this petroleum here, but I can cut that off because that's not getting heat anymore. That was just overheating because of the bunker tiles that were touching it. So if I do this, I can just let that run out. We can take that pipe out. I did have to make a change in here because this loop that was cooling down our steam turbines, I had it set too cold because it was cooling down the hydrogen to the point where it was cooling the petroleum past its freezing point, which froze this into solid petroleum and allowed the hydrogen to escape. So I have to refill this up with hydrogen. I think I can turn this back off now. I think I have enough in there that it should be okay. Hydrogen is at 2 kilograms. That's fine. So then this is all working fine. It's nice and cold again, but it won't go past the freezing point of the petroleum, which is fine. It'll keep it cold enough that it'll keep functioning. The temperatures up here are doing fine. I'm getting these robo miners all the way down. The problem is the direct heat from the rockets is still so hot that these go above the temperature that we can before they start overheating. The only solution I think that I can do is replace them with thermium robo miners once I get some thermium made up. And I have the niobium I need to do that, so it should be fine. This isn't getting swept because I have nowhere for niobium to go right now. Let's go in here. Bet you niobium is not set as a whitelist. Okay, let's do that. We'll do that. That way they can just get set in here. I also have some stuff in here to clean up. I keep having voles get out and go around and put a little bit of dirt and stuff that it's eaten out, and that's because the eggs are in here, and every once in a while, for some reason, when they lay an egg, it falls down this way. And I haven't fixed it, but I have to, next time I set up something like this for this infinitely breeding shovel thing, I need to put a solution in for that, because that's kind of annoying. But it's not that big a deal right now. This is all working great. I don't want to change out the coolant here, but what I do want to do is in this system down here, I want to change out the coolant in these two systems, because even though I'm producing a ton of extra power now, with supercoolant, I can swap this out so I don't need so many aqua tuners running to keep the temperatures down. On this side, I think it's actually doing okay, because now this is just cooling the steam turbines and nothing else. So the temperatures in there are fine. So I could probably just reduce this, but this one, I want to switch it out so it's using supercoolant so that it can cool this down a little better. And I'm going to redo some of the coolant lines in here to make it work just a little better. I want this temperature to be better, though I don't know that it needs to be. I just would prefer to not be using so much power to keep that at the temperature it is. Right now I'm running 4 aqua tuners, which is 4,800, 4.8 kilowatts of power just to cool down this section here. I can do it with 1 if I have super coolant. So we're going to work on getting that switched out, but we need to run a few more space missions to do it because all the super coolant we had is out of here. I think that's probably because I left it running up here. Yeah, let's remove this. I took everything I had, but that's fine because that put us right where we want to be. I have 2,500 there, 2,500 there. That'll be useful for our next episode. So I'm going to run a few more space missions, get some more fullerene, get some more super coolant made down here, and just swap out this section here so that we can put in just 1 aqua tuner running super coolant that goes up here and cools down this whole section. I have some more missions still going to get some more super coolant, but it's going to take a little time. Still getting very, very small amounts every time I go to pick up fullerene because we can't make it out to the Gilded Asteroid just yet. Gilded Asteroid is all the way out here. We need to get a better rocket before we can do that. Once we do that, we'll be able to get tons and tons of the stuff. But I'm doing some trips, getting some more fullerene. In the meantime, I set up a system here for working on making some small amounts of thermium. So I put in a metal refinery in here that I can use to make wolframite into tungsten, and then I'm using the tungsten with some niobium that I've gotten from the same missions I've been getting the fullerene from. I can actually make a pretty decent amount of thermium with the niobium that I have because you only need 5 kilograms of niobium for each one. Tungsten, I'm still dealing with what I have from what I can make from wolframite. And wolframite, I only have 35 tons, which is a lot, to be fair. But it'll go quick. I'll have to get a renewable source for that. But for now, I can make some thermium. And what we're going to use the thermium for is up here where we're having issues with our robo miners. The problem with them is that I can cool them down to really, really cold. Like right now, this one's temperature is at minus 271.8 degrees. The rocket comes in, there's so much heat, it absorbs heat to get it up above the 275 degree mark so that it overheats. And I can cool it right back down, but it's broken at that point. So it needs to use steel to repair it. So I'm going to switch this out with some thermium, and we're going to rebuild it. We're going to do that for these two that I keep having the problems with. And the thermium will have an overheat temperature instead of like this one here that has an overheat temperature at 275, the overheat temperature will be at 900 degrees. So we'll be able to absorb that heat from the rockets, and then the coolant will cool it back down before it gets hot enough that it's going to break. And that'll allow us to just have those go fine. And because we have the extra robo miners over here, if anything lands on them to block them, they'll clear them out, and then we'll be fine. These will work just exactly how we want in order to keep the rocket pad clear. And so we can do the same on this side. Might as well go ahead and change these out for the right material as well, because I have enough to do it and get it done while we're talking about it. I don't need to worry about these over here because the ones on the sides that are the extra ones to clear out this space, because they don't get hot enough. The exhaust doesn't get over there and heat them up beyond that point. But if they do, I can always switch them out with some thermium later. The other thing I can use thermium for is, and we're not going to do this right now, but just to show you, is in the future, we're going to run out of magma in this core down here. It is very, very quickly cooling down, well, relatively, and we're running out of heat to do the petroleum. Later on, we can replace this heat source using thermium, because if we have a thermium aqua tuner, and we have an aqua tuner, and instead of making it out of steel, we make it out of thermium, that will also have an overheat temperature that's over 900 degrees, which means we can run it and just keep heating it up and pulling the heat off to get it to a point where it actually gives us a temperature high enough to do the petroleum. And we can do that in a renewable kind of way. We'll work on that maybe later. I don't know if we'll get to it in this playthrough or not. I would like to mess around with it a little bit, but we'll see. There's a lot of things I'd like to get done before we're finished. And that might be one of them if we get to that point. It's definitely something I want to do at some point in the game, but we'll see. So for now, we're going to continue running more missions to get some more supercoolant so that I can do some upgrades in the areas down here. And we are going to, next episode, work on using the coolant we have up here to set up a system to make liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. Just to show you the process in that, to give you an idea of what's coming. With liquid hydrogen, we need to get the hydrogen cooled down below the freezing point, which is 259.2. And then there's a window there where we have to keep the hydrogen in a state between 259.2 and 252.2, or it will turn back into a gas or turn into a solid. We want it in a liquid form, and then we need to be able to dump it into a rocket to use it as fuel. With the oxygen, we need to do the same thing. It's not quite as difficult because the range is a little better. We need to get it below 218.8, or no, below 183, but not go below 218.8 so that it goes into a liquid state and stays there. So if we get below this point, it freezes it. So, like I said, this range here is 30 degrees, a little less taxing than the liquid hydrogen is, because the liquid hydrogen, we get it below 252.2. Well, we have to go to 255.2 to get it to liquid. We can't go much farther because the temperature will go, if we go down to 262.2, we'll turn it into a solid, and we don't want that. The other challenge is getting that hydrogen out of our liquid hydrogen system and run it up to get it dumped into a fuel system. But once we do that, we'll be able to use liquid hydrogen as fuel, liquid oxygen as a liquid oxidizer, and we'll be able to do hydrogen rockets, which can do a range that is much higher than our petroleum rockets, and we'll be able to get out into space, not only to get to the 130,000 kilometer mark to hit our gilded asteroid and get large amounts of fullerene, but all the way to the end to get to the temporal tear and everything else in between. So that is our next goal, and we'll work on that in the next episode. But for now, I'm just going to let this go, do a few more missions in between, get some more super coolant, and I'll probably swap out the system here with some super coolant before we start the next episode. That way we can come in fresh and start right on liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.